Welcome to the webinar. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Barbara Bennett, and I am the presenter of today's webinar. I'm one of the INCITS Associate Managers that is assigned to some of our INCITS technical committees. If your screen shows the ISO Comments template, it's still the one, then you're in the correct venue. A bit of housekeeping before getting into the details of the webinar. I ask that you hold your questions and put them in the chat, and at the end of the session, we'll address them. So hold your questions for now. My colleague, Jill Powers, will be monitoring the waiting room and keeping track of chat questions, as well as watching the queue for raised hands during the Q&A session at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. Join us as we walk through how to properly complete the ISO Comments template. The objective today is to equip you with clear guidance that helps to minimize chances of rejection when submitting comments. The title, The ISO Comments Template, It's Still the One, is a playful nod to the idea that despite changes in platforms and processes, this template remains the primary and most reliable tool for submitting comments within the ISO and IC framework. Here's why it's still the one. It brings consistency. It's the standard format used across ISO and IC, ensuring every national body submits comments in a structured manner. Then there is compatibility. Even as tools like the OSD platform are introduced or updated, the template continues to be compatible and required for official submissions. There's also efficiency. Using the template streamlines the review and response process, both for the commenting body and the international committees. And later in the webinar, when we get to the OSD platform, I'll show you exactly how to interact with the ISO Comments template and why using the template correctly is still essential. What is the purpose of the ISO Comments template? Well, it's used to provide formal feedback upon request and throughout the development of international standards, such as at the NP, WD, CD, DIS, and FDIS stages. In case you're wondering who actually uses the ISO Comments template, well, as a standards organization responsible for developing drafts that evolve into formal standards, it's a critical tool for many contributors, including all INCITS technical committees with assigned US tag responsibility, expert groups and ad hoc groups formed for focused tasks or specific issues, and voters and commenters participating during the balloting process. The template is used as it ensures clarity, consistency, and user-friendliness when submitting input throughout the standards-making process. And as an added bonus, it is used by our INCITS technical committees as they find the template helpful to track ballot comments and public review comments when developing national standards, and also for resolution of those comments. Before we dive deeper, let's first look at where you can access this essential tool. You'll find it located in the Committee Member Resources folder on each IGMAS committee dashboard. We've included a direct link here in the presentation for your reference. It's worth noting that this template is referenced in nearly 99% of posted action items, making it one of the most frequently utilized resources throughout the standards development process. So let's move on to best practices for using the ISO Comments template. Here are a few of the top items to keep in mind. Regarding formatting matters, the template is under closer scrutiny more than ever, and comments submitted with improper formatting are increasingly being rejected. Always use the most current version. Ensure you're working with the latest template file and that it is saved with the correct extension. That is, .docx or .docx. Remember, don't just add X to the extension, as there may be compatibility issues during submission. The template is a strictly Word format-only document. The template must be completed in Word, and no other formats are accepted. Fill in the required fields, as incomplete submissions can lead to delays or rejections, so make sure every required field is completed. Next, we shall review the template fields in deep detail. Understanding the header section of the template is fairly easy and quick. It provides the key details that help the reader and the editor identify which document or project is being commented on. We have 3 fields to assist us. First, there is the date field. Enter the date of your document, and this could be the date of preparation or a date that aligns with a scheduled committee meeting for discussion or for an upcoming ballot. Then there is document identification. For items still in earlier processing stages, be sure to fill in the TC or the SC document number at a minimum. And if available, include the official ISO and ISO-IC designation to ensure clarity and traceability. For items in the later stages, such as at the JTC1 DIS or FDIS stage, as above, enter the date of your document. Again, this could be the date of preparation or a date that aligns with the scheduled committee meeting for discussion or for an upcoming ballot. In these latter stages, that is, in the DIS or FDIS stage, there is no TC or SC document number. Only enter DIS or FDIS and the ISO or IC designation in the project field. Again, ensuring clarity and traceability. Here we have 2 examples with the completed headers. The completed one at the top is for the SC and TC document, and the one below is at the JTC1 level for the FDIS and the DIS stages. Now that we've covered the header section, let's move on to completing the rest of the template, starting with the required fields. Our first field to review is identified as the member body or national committee field. This field is always required, and it simply identifies which member body is submitting the comment. Member bodies are identified by their 2-letter country code, and for the US or the United States, this is US. Once the ballot closes, the ISO portal gathers all the comments submitted by member bodies, and as part of that process, it uses a built-in sorting mechanism to organize everything. Now, while this helps the system internally, it can make it a bit challenging for US experts to track and compare their original comments against the sorted version, especially when trying to follow the conversation across multiple member bodies. To help with that, the portal gives us an option. We can add numbering to the member body column. This simple addition makes it much easier to trace US submissions throughout the compiled list. And here on the slide, you'll see an example of how this numbering may be done. The next field in the template is the line number field. This field is only used when the draft document being reviewed actually includes visible line numbers in the left margin, which is quite rare in ISO materials. That said, if line numbers are present, you may include them to indicate exactly which part of the text your comment refers to. This can help to provide precise context to editors and reviewers, especially when the comment is highly specific or technical. However, it's important to avoid entering page numbers in this column. Page numbers are not accepted and can disrupt the processing of comments. In standard practice, ISO documents do not carry line numbers, and this field is not used for sorting. So unless the document has approved line numbers, this field should typically remain blank. So just remember before we move on, use the line number field only when it's relevant and officially supported by the document. It's an optional field that can add value, but it isn't always applicable. Moving right along, the next field is the clause subclause. This is a required field that identifies the specific section of the document your comment applies to. It's critical for properly organizing and reviewing feedback. We have numbered and numerical and non-numerical types of clauses. With numerical clauses and subclauses, enter only the clause number. You can see from the slide that we've only entered the numbers. If a comment pertains to multiple clauses, you can separate the clauses with commas, or use a separate row for each clause. Do not add extra words, symbols, or descriptions. And with non-numerical clauses, use the following standardized terms. There's general for comments that pertain to the entire document, or there is annex x.y for feedback related to a specific annex using the appropriate identifier. Example, Annex X. Ensuring accuracy in this field helps direct your comment to the right part of the document and facilitates smoother handling in the review process. Our next template field is the paragraph, figure, table field. This is mostly a required field, but there are times when it could be blank. Indicate the paragraph inside of a clause, figure, or table to which the comment refers. Now we've reached the type of comment field. This is a mandatory field of the ISO comments template and must be completed for every entry. You'll need to choose the most appropriate category for your comment. There are 3 distinct types to select from. There is GE for general. Use this type for broad feedback that doesn't pertain to a specific technical or editorial element. Then next we have TE for technical. This applies to content that impacts the technical accuracy, feasibility, or validity of the document. And lastly, there is ED for editorial. This addresses grammar, punctuation, formatting, or readability without altering the technical meaning. Please remember, each comment must be assigned only one type of comment. There are no combinations or multiple selections permitted. From our example, you'll note comment US01 has 3 clauses mentioned and only one comment type. Choosing the correct type ensures that your comment is evaluated appropriately and routed correctly during review. The next field, the comment field itself, is undoubtedly a required field. We use this column to clearly enter our comments or observations regarding the content on the review. My 3 tips for you regarding this field would be: 1, whenever possible, include a brief rationale or justification to help explain the reasoning behind your input. Adding rationale strengthens the value of your input and improves the likelihood of it being accepted or addressed appropriately. Secondly, for complex elements such as tables, figures, or large images, you'll need to insert them as separate embedded files. These kinds of things are no longer allowed to be just pasted into the cell. They can be added here in the comments column or the adjacent proposed change column, depending on relevance and clarity. Lastly, keep your entry focused and properly formatted for clarity to ensure it's easy for reviewers and editors to assess. Now, onto the proposed change field. This section is where your input comes to life. It is a required field for US submissions, and it gives you the opportunity to shape the future of the standard with your proposed wording or revisions. Before diving into your proposed changes, a few key things to help ensure your input is well crafted, clear, and impactful are, for one, to be specific. Clearly state what you want to see changed or improved in the draft, as precision is key. Another thing is to back it up. Where appropriate, providing additional rationale or background can help reviewers understand the why behind your suggestion and give it greater weight. And then think beyond words. If your proposed change includes visual elements, such as adding tables, diagrams, or larger images, embed them in this field to make your input crystal clear. Remember, this is your chance to influence the conversation and ensure your expertise is reviewed for potential input in the final document. So we've made it to the last column of the ISO comments template. It's a simple column, but it wraps everything up neatly. Just leave it blank. It is reserved for the technical committee or the subcommittee secretariat staff and project editors to record the final decision or action taken for each submitted comment. This may include acceptance, rejection, or notes on the revisions. Here's a perfect visual representation of what a properly filled out ISO comments template looks like when every field is completed with care and precision. It's a neat, compliant, and it's ready to make an impact. Remember that a properly completed template can help to facilitate meeting reviews more effectively and efficiently. For further reference, we've included a link to the ISO guideline for the template. Before we jump into the next topic area, I want to share a few tips to help ensure your template submissions are not only complete, but crystal clear, readable, and ready for review. Here's what to keep in mind. Embedding content. For items like large images, detailed tables, or complex figures, embed them as separate files within either the comment or the proposed column change. Always include clause or subclause references when known. If your comment applies to multiple sections of the draft, separate the clause, subclause using commas only. Never include the word and, even for two subclause entries. For contextual references, if your comment refers to a paragraph, figure, or table, be sure to note that in the appropriate column for clarity. And then, do not add extra tabs following the main table, as this can lead to formatting issues during processing. Leave no empty rows except for the observation column. Use US in the member body national committee field, and as we mentioned earlier, you may also use additional identifiers such as numbering the comments. These may seem like small details, but they do make a big difference, and this helps your comment to smoothly pass through submission followed by committee review. We've covered the golden rules for getting your comments template in tip-top shape. Now let's talk about common pitfalls and how to steer clear of them. No superhero cape is required here. Some mistakes we see just keep showing up like uninvited guests. So please, do not modify the layout of the template, meaning don't add, remove, or merge columns. Do not split the comments table into multiple tables. Do not change the width of individual cells or rows. Do not merge cells. Instead, refer to another comment or duplicate the text. Do not add text images outside of the table. Do not insert a table into a cell. Instead, use a separate Word file and embed the file in either the comment or the proposed change column. Do not use auto-numbering. Do not password protect or write protect the template. Do not submit a zipped file, and do not add carriage returns. So for blank rows, forget about it. Sneaky extra tab at the end of the document, no, forget about it. Page numbers in the line column, you guessed it, forget about it. These little troublemakers seem harmless, but they can get a submission rejected really fast. So if it's on this slide, forget about it. Stick to the structure, follow the rules, and your template should glide through submission. Now that we've reviewed what not to do, let's move on to some errors we've received thus far. Well, let's be realistic. Errors do happen. And luckily, the ISO ballot portal is quick to let us know when something isn't quite right by generating a rejection report. So the slide we're on right now gives a quick snapshot of the most common rejection messages. No need to really linger here too long, but they're worth a quick look. Now, what does this INCITES Secretariat do when we receive a rejection report? Well, the next step depends on what the error report says and which part of the template is affected. Here's how we approach it. If the rejection relates to the comment or proposed change fields, the Secretariat does not modify the input. Instead, we contact the committee chair to determine how to proceed, since those fields reflect the submitter's exact wording. If the issue seems more mechanical, like extra wording in the clause field, for example, including a description instead of just the clause number, the Secretariat may correct the error and attempt resubmission. These fixes are limited to formatting or structural issues. In all cases, if any edits are made or are needed, the committee chair is informed to ensure transparency and traceability. It's a careful balance of accuracy and teamwork with the goal of ensuring that the committee's original intent remains front and center. The majority of these rejection reports are the results of submissions for projects that are now utilizing the Online Standards Development Tool, or OSD. While we cannot provide training for this new tool, that task is handled by ISO and IC. So we'll talk a bit about the OSD platform in general terms. The exact definition of OSD from the ISO website is that the Online Standards Development, or OSD, provides the technical community with a unique and harmonized platform for developing standards online, collaboratively, from the preliminary stage through publication. The pilot phase started back in 2022, and as of January 2025, OSD is officially the default tool for all new or revised projects. That shift has brought more visibility, but also more scrutiny. So yes, rejection reports are showing up more frequently as we navigate this new system. Now, if you're ever unsure how to use the platform, or you're just looking to have a better understanding of the tool, there's plenty of documentation available in the ISO knowledge base. We've included the link on this slide, and it is a great resource to bookmark. Participation with OSD looks a little different depending on your access level, your role, and the stage of processing. At the working group level, experts are able to enter their comments directly into the OSD tool. At the subcommittee level and JTC1 level, input comes via the traditional template, but only after approval by the technical committee or the subcommittee, and in our case, for the technical committee, the US tag. So in this regard, the ISO Commons template, it's still the one. So while the workflow is evolving, the goal is consistent: better collaboration, better transparency, and a smoother development process. And that brings us to the grand finale of today's webinar. We hope you had a great time with us and walked away with helpful insights and practical tips. As we bring today's session to a close, if you have questions later, you're welcome to reach out anytime. Also, we will be posting the webinar online for reference. Thanks again for your presence and your questions, and have a great rest of your day. Keep cool during these sweltering days of summer, and be well.